my parents' home. That's the bank right there. That's the bank. That's the bank right there. I'm not moving. I'm not moving. I'm not going to be quiet. I'm not going to be quiet. I'm going to look at them right there, and I'm going to say, you took it.
You took it!
And we're gonna take it back!
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 Come here, you want to get arrested or no? Listen.
What's your name? What's your name? What's your name? Date of birth.
May 27, 1986. Marisaholmes.
Marisaholmes.
This is Liberty, formerly Zuccotti Park. It doesn't look all that impressive now, but it was once filled with people, and I was lucky enough to be one of them. I will forever be marked by what happened in this space. Together we wanted to build a new world, and for a moment, we did. In 2011, there were occupations of squares happening all across the globe. From North Africa to Europe, people were rising up in response to the global financial crisis and for real democracy. There was a global revolution happening, and I wanted to be part of it. I kept hoping that something would happen in the US. And then ad-busters made a call to occupy Wall Street. I can't remember the first time I saw the ad-busters poster. In the summer of 2011, it seemed to be everywhere. The magazine had made a call for 20,000 people to descend on the financial district on September 17th, but they weren't intending to organize anything on the ground, and it was still unclear who these people were going to be.
I'd been busy working with a national coalition of community-based organizations to begin to increase the pressure on Wall Street and high finance. And there was a synergy between the ad-busters call and I think the work in New York around Wall Street. Even when we were organizing for May 12th, we were thinking about calling it Wisconsin on Wall Street with this idea of how do we bring people here and stay. We were actually, can we bring people and stay?
Hey, ho, ho. Michael Bloomberg's got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho. Michael Bloomberg's got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho. Michael Bloomberg's got to go.
So I get here and I instantly go to an organizing meeting for this group called New Yorkers Against Budget Cuts. And they started talking about this call from ad-busters about Occupy Wall Street. August 2nd, 2011 was supposed to be the debt default. It's like this yearly event where it's like a political event basically at this point where like the Republicans try to leverage it over the Democrats. And so they want to hold a rally.
Their blueprint is the destruction of the future of this generation. Their blueprint is the end of free public education. Their blueprint is the end of decent schools. Their blueprint is low wages. Their blueprint is massive unemployment.
They didn't actually have a stage, but they've kind of made something that looks like a stage. There was somebody shaking their fist and waving something. There were people making speeches. And then we kind of looked around and like, you know, we were going, but we noticed so was everybody else. Just about everybody was like looking bored or annoyed or about to leave. We held a new meeting and amazingly enough, everybody seemed to come there and abandon the other thing. We formed a circle and we're like, oh, look, we've got a democratic movement, great. What are we gonna do now? So that's when it all began. We're like, we have to think about what we're actually gonna do. Are we actually gonna occupy Wall Street?
I got an email from David Graeber, and it was really so much of what he described as far as people sitting in a circle with two facilitators, you know, using a really nice consensus process, opening space for everyone to speak. And the most basic direct democracy is just that we all have a say in things that affect us. And we help to choose which things we want to have a say over. So it doesn't mean you have to be in an assembly talking about every single thing in the world or in your neighborhood, but both choosing democratically those things in which you want to participate and actively participating.
Why will you join the General Assembly? Why will you occupy Wall Street?
I imagined a set of events to take place prior to September 17th as a means of communicating in advance the belief that this thing was going to happen.
In this game, a star can be born and die in the sand. I don't want to die without living everything. I don't want to live without breathing. Stardust.
That was the day that I told Jez, I think I'm an anarchist. And I asked Jez, what about you? Have you ever thought about it? And we had like a lengthy discussion on that. So I finally said, I'm an anarchist. Like,
How many politicians does it take to change a light bulb? How many?
How many?
Politicians don't change anything.
We were doing spodiums from the George Washington sculpture right there on that building in front of Wall Street, you know, speaking to all the tourists and doing all these things for all the tourists, because that's really who are in that area. It's just a bunch of tourists visiting and checking out Wall Street and everything like that.
What's your name, my friend? We're not against like equal and sidewalk. It's not the game.
There was an action group that was going to start scouting, and and there was a media group and a communications group, and then we met a few days later for the first outreach meeting, and that was very exciting because that was when we came up with the whole 99% thing. Well, if the 1% are the people who have gained everything from the economic expansion, and because they're the only people who can take their wealth and turn it into political power. I said, well, we'll just say we represent everybody else, the 99% who doesn't get to do that.
Have you guys heard of Anonymous?
Yes.
Okay, that's who I'm associated with.
Is that right?
So we're gonna have about 300 people come down with masks. So we're gonna be doing our thing. You know what I mean? We're gonna.
This is important. Like I heard that there's a legal restriction on a number of people you can have with masks in a square.
What
like
is it?
It's like three people or something in a group.
There's gonna be a lot of different groups there.
Yeah, of course. No, that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm just here representing.
As long as there's bodies there taking up space.
Exactly.
That's all we need.
Mr. Lorenz, you brought your sleeping bag.
Dude, you brought all the stuff. Yeah.
The idea was that we were going to go to the financial district and sleep on Wall Street. Like, that was what we were going to do. So we were like, well, let's go see if it works. And so we went and saw it worked.
Maybe I wrote a song. Yeah.
All right, are we all not going to pick on people in there?
Yeah, that's exactly. This is our street.
It was a way for me to just like let myself be free, Like I know I'm not supposed to be down there. I'm not supposed to be down there. The cops are not gonna like it. And just knowing, just like doing it anyway.
So you don't know that it's actually legal to sleep on the street on a public sidewalk.
We have an agenda to be here. Is that the problem?
We do have an agenda to be here.
Okay. you have
What's the problem?
and you want to be vocal. We're vocal earlier, right?
That's
You're
right.
making speeches, right?
Yeah, I made a speech.
Okay, so you need a permit for that.
I can speak as a human being with the
a gathering.
product of my own voice.
By yourself, you can.
That is the First Amendment. That is guaranteed by the First Amendment. If you don't think that that is protected by a Constitution of the United States, then I think we're living in different countries.
No. You can't. I'm not saying individually you can't. But if you produced a gathering of people.
I didn't produce a gathering of people. A gathering of people produced itself.
Stop. You're too late now. Help them. Sir, come in.
All right, you going? Yes or no? Make a decision.
I got arrested with these other 8 people that I had just met, but from that day, or from even before that, we were bonded. We were more than, I don't know, people organizing something together. We were more than friends. It was something else. So I couldn't let go of this, and this kind of became the most important thing in my life.
On the morning of September 17th, a small group gathered at Bowling Green Park and circled the bowl. The plans were in flux. As anticipated, Wall Street was blocked by police, so those of us from the NYCGA gave out maps indicating the location of Zuccotti Park. Most of us had never been there, but as soon as we arrived, it felt like home.
Our streets! Our streets! Our streets! Our streets! Our streets! Our streets!
Imagine if somebody happened on this boat
Like these comparisons, historical comparisons, are like always. Just before that. Lots of these people here, these faces. We've been organizing in the New York General Assembly for the last few weeks to make this event happen. And so we just have a quick announcement with some logistical information, right? So we're collecting food up here. We're going to have dinner at 6 o'clock. So that's peanut butter sandwiches, and there's some fruit over there, and that's all free. Then we're going to plan to have a General Assembly for everybody, all different assemblies together.
Did you talk about process that we would cover?
Yeah, well, we'll cover the process at the beginning of the mass assembly so that everybody knows what's going on. That's like one of the most important things is that you're all involved in this. All of us are involved in this.
Hi, I came from Madrid yesterday. Keep fighting every day, because if you stay here, tomorrow more people will come here, and the next day more people, and maybe in 2 weeks you will be like thousands and thousands of people, and even police or government could not do nothing.
Very important is that we've worked over 6 or 7 weeks to come up with a process that we've seen work in places like Cairo and Tunisia and Greece and Spain. And we're doing it here. So what's important is that, remember, it's about a process and making sure that you hear each other. And by staying here longer, we develop this consensus as a people.
By 7 that night, the park was full of hundreds of people. We had not anticipated such a large crowd. Myself and others from the NYCGA huddled to figure out what to do next. We decided to go to the middle of the park and begin the assembly.
We've been meeting, having general assemblies in New York every week for the last 6 weeks, and it's been a really amazing process of direct democracy. But we recognize that this is a specific group, a gathering that we have here, and we want to hear from people here to see how we can proceed tonight. So one of our first sort of orders of business is, are we going to stay or not, and what are the ramifications of that? So, which is great. And so we're going to hear about some logistical concerns from the tactical group.
I'm here with some logistical information. This square is technically a privately owned square. We have been in contact with the property owner, who has intention is to not allow people to sleep in this park tonight.
Take the sidewalks. Brookfield Financial.
Brookfield Financial is the owner of this property.
We had microphones. I think we had 3 megaphones. And we formed a circle, and then we realized that was incredibly stupid to form a circle because obviously you're going to have your back to someone if you're talking. And so we thought, we'll attach the megaphone so they're pointing in all three different directions, and we'll wire it. And we had this sort of incredibly bizarre jerry-built contraption that everybody was supposed to talk into, and that just didn't work at all. And the Spanish people were like, "You idiots! You're supposed to form a crescent with columns so people can walk forwards." And we thought, "Well, it's too late now. What are we going to do?" And then somebody came up with the idea of the people's microphone.
People want to talk about occupying Wall Street.
Yes.
Do we propose? No. We propose. Can we do both? A discussion of occupying and support.
It makes for active listening. If you're repeating what someone else is saying, you can't sit there thinking about what you're going to say next. You're really listening and internalizing it. And then people repeat back to you what you say, which is incredibly empowering. I mean, we're not just talking about we're not listened to in society. And then you're listened to, and then people repeat back to you what you say. And it feels important. It makes you feel like what you say matters.
We occupy either this square.
If we occupy either this square
or Wall Street. We can express our solidarity.
We can express our solidarity
with the revolutionary fervor. Of the Egyptians. Who occupied Liberation Square.
Now it is our time. And we need to organize.
What happened that night was a lot of people, an assembly that was unlike anything most people had done before. It worked for people that night in that it was a participatory process. There was synergy. There was opportunities for voice. There was small group processes. There was lots of people, not one person in charge, no domination from that sense. That led to the beginning of a community of people that were going to stay.
Facilitation team. Sensing. That people want. To stay here. And occupy this square. How do people feel about that?
I'm here at Occupy Wall Street, and as you can see, it's fucking beautiful out here. Lots of beautiful people sharing love and art and everything they have to share, which is kind of the reason we're here. It's to sort of talk about something called sharing, which these people on Wall Street seem to have a really big problem with for some reason.
I'm spending the night. It's gonna be cold. Here's my bed.
Yo, when you guys are done with these signs, can you move over a little bit? Because we're gonna camp, set up camp here if you don't mind.
We're also camping here, so.
Well, is that an area where you can camp? Can we share this general area?
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Share it.
All right, cool.
5 or 6 years ago, I participated in anti-war protests in DC, and it was very different. It was a very different nature than this kind of protest because they had like a firm agenda and that kind of thing. So I think what's interesting about this protest is that it's really like a collaborative movement, and people can participate in what the agenda is and what the objectives of this actual protest is.
Seems quite obvious that the organizational structures of our society are just plain out failing us. You know, that there's tons of people that are needlessly homeless, that are needlessly hungry, while that's being provided. And what this occupation is, for me, is doing something direct, actually taking part and creating a community, which in many ways, by the way it organizes itself, by the way we feed each other, by the way we interact, we create an alternative organizational structure. We create an alternative society.
No, I won't be afraid. No, I won't be afraid. No, I won't shed a tear. I won't shed no tears. Just as long as you stand on Wall Street. So occupy Wall Street. Oh yeah. Don't you occupy Wall Street. Oh, occupy Wall Street with me. One more time. So darling, occupy Wall Street. Oh, occupy Wall Street. Won't you occupy Wall Street with me? Cha-cha-cha. Vamos. Estilo indignado. We are the 99%. We are the 99%. They try to say that. The 99%. We are the 99%. We are the 99%.
Every morning, we marched on Wall Street and rang in the people's bell against the trading bell of the stock exchange. They weren't taking us seriously at first. We were a minor annoyance, a water cooler joke, but this would all soon change.
We got sold out! Thanks got bailed out! We got sold out! Thanks got bailed out! We got sold out! You need to move closer to the building line! Stay closer to the building line! Move closer to the building line!
The park was our space, filled with our voices and dreams. And rather than make demands of Wall Street or the government, we made demands of each other. We were building a community and our own way of doing politics.
Media. Legal. Outreach. Arts and culture. Internet. Food. Direct action. Medical. Comfort. Town planning. Treasury. Facilitation. Student assembly. And library.
I was part of the food committee, and eventually, as time went on, that eventually morphed into the People's Kitchen. I was working with the assumption we would be there for about 3 days. My thought was that day 1 would be fine. Day 2 we'd start getting a lot more pressure, and day 3 they would start breaking out the gas and the horses and stuff like that. And so the way that I calculated things out was that actually. I was going through some of my old notes before you got here, because I'd saved a lot of my stuff. This was my general rough thing. I did this on our very first meeting of the food committee. And so as we can see over here, this is like assuming the park. And so this would be you know, this was just a rough idea, like the central staging area, and so that would be where all the food would be stored and prepped and things like that. And then we would have runners taking stuff, you know, to all the various satellite tables, the satellite kitchens, all throughout the park. But as far as like, so the thing that I kind of thought about was that, yeah, it says peanut butter sandwiches as general backup, but I remember this shows up a lot in the notes too. I keep on saying, but what about people with peanut allergies? I kept on bringing that up like to myself, and I totally forgot about that, but it was like something I really, really thought about.
So in case you were wondering, this is how the occupation forces are being fed. People are sending in, this is where all the feedstock gets delivered basically, and the water and so on. This is actually the media center, and this is where a lot of the live stuff you're seeing in the channel is being edited, as well as a lot of the stuff is being tweeted out. This is basically the communications outpost for the parks.
When Occupy first started, there was an attempt, I think, by the mainstream media to pretend it doesn't exist. And they did that for a whole week. I mean, it was really good. They did a good job with that. But the problem was it did exist, and also we weren't invisible because we were broadcasting, we're tweeting, we're broadcasting, and we're showing that we exist, and we were getting a lot of views.
Do you know why the park is called Liberty Park? It used to be called something else.
Okay, so the background for that is actually very interesting. I just found out. It used to be called Liberty Park. So this is actually kind of goes along with the whole narrative of what happened to all the other squares that have been occupied worldwide. They always had new names previously imposed by whatever authorities were in power. And once people took them back, they took back the old names. And the old names were the names connected to liberation, revolution, and freedom.
Now don't pull it too hard because we don't want this end to go over the black part.
Yeah.
The second square that is gonna be full of blue, like the sky, you know?
Cops say we can put up the tents because I know they said.
No, we just did it.
I don't suggest we ask them either. But if they tell us to put it down, then we fail. But if they don't, then we're good.
How was the tent? Was it
I can help if anybody else wants to try.
Okay, yeah, I mean, it seems like we got just one more tent up. We'll just get a couple more. Yeah. What is it? This is the third night? Yeah, third night, and we're already building tents. We're already putting tarps over our technology center. The infrastructure in 3 days has been amazing to see come together.
We just went on an adventure, and we brought back a lot of sand, and we're bringing it in these buckets. I won't say where we got it from, but we got it to rest those dowels in, and I'll show you where the rest is. So this is the last bit of it. We just filled like 7 of these things, so we're gonna sink our dowels into that, and hopefully that'll help our tents stay up. I think that's our last bucket.
Over this one too. Over this one too. Over this one too.
This is like a palace. You should look inside. Wow. It's so nice, isn't it? Come on in. Yeah. Thanks for visiting.
I mean, it's just Council on Foreign Relations. That's what it's not a government decision, it's a private organization. But they talk about something, and 5, 7, 10 years later, it kind of happens.
Then it rained. That night it rained. And that night it rained, and they let us put up tents. They let us put up tents, and we slept in tents. The first night, which was like the fourth night or something like that. It was after the third day. And woke up, and the cops were going around and telling people we had to take down the tents.
AHMADI. AHMADI, and your first name?
Yeah, I'm sorry, just kidding.
And your first name? Jason?
This is really, really tight. I can't move my hand.
He's bleeding, he's bleeding.
When the police came to take off the tarps and some people tried to hold it, and those people were arrested in this rainy Tuesday morning, 6 a.m. in the morning. Everybody was super tired, and then seeing your friends getting arrested was really stressful. It was really stressful, but kept us coming back and kept us bounded to the park.
Rain check!
Rain check!
Rain check!
Rain check!
The rain is going to be very short.
The rain is going to be very short.
For 2 hours.
For 2 hours.
It's going to be very light.
It's going to be very light.
And then it's going to get hard.
And then it's going to get hard.
Vlad has this idea about having a bubble, because a bubble isn't a structure, it's just supported by air, like right in the middle. It has no metal parts
How does the
whatsoever.
bubble...
it's just filled with air.
It's just a big...
pressurized
circle?
air, yeah.
Or no, it's like on the ground, though. It's like a
It's
flat
on the
ground.
ground.
It's got a flat ground.
Yeah, it's got
it
a flat.
stays in one place?
Yeah,
I think it qualifies as structure.
See?
All parts of it are sides.
Oh, dude.
Then all parts of it are sides.
Then no parts of it are sides and all parts.
Well,
Quander me this.
well, that you quander that to the cop.
Brookfield made the rounds and inspected the property. They issued notices asking us to leave, but no one was leaving. This was all day, all week, a permanent occupation. They were starting to realize it.
So you're in charge of security here? Are you not answering any questions?
No.
Okay.
Mic check! Mic check! If you see anybody being arrested, take out your video cameras! Take out your video cameras! We got sold out! We got sold out! Back up, bailed out! We got sold out! Back up, bailed out! We got sold out!
That's the bank that took my parents home! That's the bank right there! That's the bank! That's the bank right there! I'm not moving! I'm not moving! I'm not gonna be quiet! I'm not gonna be quiet! I'm gonna look at them right there and I'm gonna say, you took it!
You took it!
And we're gonna take it back!
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 Come here, you want to get arrested or no? Listen.
I was one of many arrested that day. The march continued to Union Square, where the police contained and pepper sprayed a crowd of people. But the more the state beat us down, the more support we received. Occupy Wall Street was becoming a story.
Our top story this half hour, dozens of activists are under arrest after their demonstration in Manhattan's Union Square got out of hand. The protest is entering its second week. The arrests were caught on tape and uploaded to YouTube as part of the Occupy Wall Street movement.
The whole thing blew up with the violence in Union Square, where the police officer pepper sprayed a bunch of people who were already arrested. The full extent of the story with the pepper spraying of arrested people went viral that night. So yes, what happened was people usually bring footage and we just quick edit it and push it out, and then try to put it on live stream, and then tell everyone in the chat to please tweet out this link, whatever. And suddenly, I think we'll get 2,000 retweets, and boom.
For me, I like to look at it as reclaiming public space, to have general dialogue between people. I think that most of the country has moved away from that. Everything requires permits. You can't gather anywhere. All those things like that. And for me, the act of coming together and discussing and basically airing your grievances, if you will, I think is really important. I think that's part of what we're doing here. And again, it's part of as many things that we're doing. But for me, that's one of the most important.
The way I viewed it, I was like this real life storyteller,
who was like in the center of this kind of information vortex, kind of sorting it for all these people. And it was really fun. Like I loved it. I loved being able to answer questions. I loved being able to like provide this world for people who weren't able to be there. And yeah, and so I don't know. To me, it was just this. Suddenly, I was able to play with story in ways I never had before.
All right, you heard it here. You guys better come out now. Better come out now. This doesn't. See that? He'll be here every day. You better come back. Occupy Wall Street. So we're gonna have some technical issues. We're gonna get our battery charged. We're not gonna leave you. We're not gonna leave the stream. We're just gonna plug in a new battery for the moment so we can walk around and interview all the beautiful people here. All right, here we are, our food table. You can see the lovely food and the lovely food team, especially beans. I love beans personally. And here we have the media. It's like looking into a mirror. Oh, there's one of our media gurus waving. Hello, hello. Oh, it's go. Oh, wait, what? Okay. Hello, this is Jason. Oh, the Daily National Newspaper. Hello, how are you? Here, and actually, my friend Marissa has some more details on that, for sure. And she would love to tell you about it. She's standing right next to me.
No, it's not new at all. We march every day. Every day. At least twice a day. We were doing, from the very beginning, from September 17th on, we did a march for the opening bell at Wall Street and the closing bell, and the Direct Action Group has been instrumental in planning other solidarity marches throughout the city, including a march at Sotheby's, a police brutality march in honor of Troy Davis, and there have been a number of actions leading up to this. It's not a new tactic at all.
We know all of you know what's really going on because you're following Global Revolution live stream. But sometimes we need to talk to the mainstream press.
A lot of what I was doing was holding the table down, the press table. I talked to so many journalists, reporters. To me, it was like that was almost who I communicated with more.
We got 2 or 3 or 4 minutes that we can get voices in other than just my own.
The point of the live interview is to get you solely your voice. We're here doing a story with Susan Candiotti for Wolf Blitzer's show. So what you're talking about, we can do for that. But for the purposes of that interview, it's too chaotic. We need your voice, and it's in a split screen, and there's 2 people talking.
So it's just a little thing like that?
Yes, yeah.
I am blessed to be here with my young brothers and sisters and older as well of all colors. They are taking a stand for justice in the face of the greed of Wall Street. They're standing for the best of America. They're concerned about poor children. They're concerned about working people. They're concerned about peoples of color. And it is a sublime thing. There's a lot of love here.
It always starts like this, right? You know, at the beginning of any movement. And then it grows. And this one's going to grow very fast because unlike other movements, you don't have to convince the majority of people that these banks and corporate America has screwed their lives over in a serious way.
It was like setting in motion something that was not controllable. And even, I guess, you know, the NYCGA, which I believed like existed as an organization of sorts before the 17th, could not like really control the nature of the thing it started.
So
here's what I heard. Rumor that they want to get arrested, first of all.
Rumor.
On purpose. To play by playing.
But they didn't
rumor.
tell
That's
you that.
rumor. No,
Yeah,
that's
so
not.
keep
But
that
then,
on the rumor table.
right, exactly. I'm just telling you, just for the record.
Whether or not Radiohead comes, whether or not they bring sound, we can kind of address as it goes. And then if they come and they use sound, that could be something we could actually ask Chris from the New York Civil Liberties Union to be here and be on call to help. If there needs to be a conversation with Esposito, he can facilitate that with Radiohead.
Some of you have heard.
Some of you have heard
that we have a special guest.
that we have a special guest
that may be coming today.
that may be coming today.
Those reports
Have
been retracted. How many of you? Is the first time? You being here. Raise your hand.
Two weeks into the occupation, there was a march over the Brooklyn Bridge. I started to go up the pedestrian walkway, only to realize that a mass of people had already started taking the bridge. I spotted a friend in the crowd, jumped over the fence, and took the streets. I watched as the police surrounded us on all sides, trapping us in the middle of the bridge. Hundreds of people were arrested, including lawyers and journalists. The police had changed their tactics. Now it was clear they were willing to engage in mass arrests. Again, the more the state beat us, the more people joined.
Here in New York, the Occupy Wall Street protests in the financial district took a dramatic turn this weekend when protesters tried to march across the Brooklyn Bridge Saturday. Their demonstration quickly turned into one of the largest arrests of nonviolent protesters in U.S. history. And why were you, Marisa, protesting over the Brooklyn Bridge? Why was that important to you, and how was it decided?
Well, our direct action group had been meeting throughout the week, and they decided to go over the bridge because we wanted to connect the boroughs, really, because we've been mainly in the financial district, and we wanted to show that the crisis is really affecting boroughs like Brooklyn.
Marisa, where do you go from here?
Well, we continue to occupy Liberty Plaza, and we encourage the creation of other assemblies, neighborhood assemblies throughout New York, and also assemblies in other cities. We're already seeing this movement spread to places like LA, Seattle, Austin. It's really becoming a national and international movement. So it's a long-term struggle. We're not just in it for this one occupation, and we're not going home anytime soon.
Everywhere, all over the country.
This is just our deliveries for today?
Like this morning. Oh my God.
All of this shit is from Kentucky.
Where's that from? Oh, this is from Utah, Salt Lake City.
From our Wajda, W-A-J-D-A, in Gettysburg, PA.
like inventory. So we've got
What's the note say? Let's see the note.
Yeah, and washcloths and like cleaning wipes.
and an awesome note.
Yeah, and an awesome note.
Regular society, you're surrounded by things that you can't control. You can interact with them, but you don't really have any say in how they're operated. You don't really have any input on what they do. For you to go from that to now in a place where what you do matters, where it really does make a difference whether or not you're there. It really does make a difference what it is you do and what it is you say and the ideas that you have. That is an incredibly empowering thing.
To review our process, we have some hand signals. This means, I like that. I feel good. This is amazing. This means, I'm on the fence. I'm not sure. I don't really know. This means, I don't really like that. I'm not comfortable. Or I don't feel good.
We are asking if everyone can bring reusable plates, cups, cutlery, and bowls. We are also accepting donations. Of those kinds. We also are not accepting any more food donations for the evening. We have plenty of food to get us through the night.
I thought it was exactly what we needed, just people feeling empowered to fill the needs that they saw. There was a lot of people who just decided to come and didn't really have anything. I don't know what they would have done if, nothing came of it. But I think that was part of it, right? It was something because people needed it to be something.
I was contacted today by a colleague from my union, faculty and staff union at City University. She said that she gets the sense that people all over the city have had nothing to do with Occupy Wall Street, are in support.
At the point where Occupy took off, everybody was working together. And that meant a lot of people who were radicals, who came from radical things, but also a lot of people who came from the more traditional activist backgrounds, like unions. The rank and file was us, as well. So that's why they had to do it.
The unions are just getting destroyed by the whole system. It's just been eroded, union busting, especially in the last year, like Wisconsin, across the country, everywhere. The teachers are being attacked, the firemen, they all caused this Great Depression, pretty much is what it is. And it's not, it's the Wall Street, it's the 1%. And we're the 99%.
I do the right thing, I go to work, I break my ass every day. Every day I go to work and do the right thing. And they just keep hammering us. They make us chase a carrot on a stick. It's pretty much not the American way. I feel that the American way is, when something like that starts to go on, you have to fight back, you have to fight against it.
Close the gap, keep it moving. Stay on the sidewalk, keep up the pace. Fill in the gaps.
Are working people tired of getting dirt kicked in their face? We have two main antagonists, the government and the banks on Wall Street. They have $2 million right now that they're sitting on, that they could be pumping into American jobs, investing back into America, and they refuse to do it.
And we have one enemy that is attacking us.
corporate America, corporate greed. Brothers and sisters, the time is now to unite and fight. Unite and fight.
So let's march on to Wall Street, show them what democracy looks like, and because we are the 99%. We are the 99%. We are the 99%.
We are the 99%. We are the 99%. We are the 99%. We are the 99%. We are the 99%. We are the 99%.
Be friendly to us, all right?
You are 1%. You are 1%.
Right, we have a right to protest, and other people have a right to come through here as well. And we're going to try to balance people that own the property. Brookfield, they have some rights too, and we're going to find a balance. People that have a right in New York City to say what they want to say, and they have a right to not say what they don't want to say. And
What do you think of what they're saying?
Well, everybody's got different opinions.
Slow down.
Can I ask you a question?
It was nice ride home, my brothers. Sleep well. Sleep tight. Don't let the bed bugs fight. Stay on the sidewalk.
Mayor Michael Bloomberg consulted with the owners of the park, Brookfield, and announced that they would be coordinating on cleaning of the park. This would require a reorganization, including removal of tents and other structures. In response to the impending cleaning, politicians with the Democratic Party began showing up to the park. They seized the political moment and postured against the Republican, Mayor Bloomberg. They wanted to incorporate Occupy Wall Street into a progressive wing of the Democratic Party.
This is a very organized, peaceful, meaningful movement. And the eyes of the world are on it for a reason, because people here are speaking to issues that government hasn't solved and the private sector hasn't solved, and we all have to be challenged to fix. And so on a First Amendment level alone, this needs to be respected. And even if changes need to be made, the way to do it is to respect the spirit with which this movement has approached things and do it in a peaceful way and negotiate.
Last thing I promise, can you just state your name and title and what your job is?
Yeah, Bill de Blasio, New York City Public Advocate.
Creating space for people to have their transformative process from the old to the new was becoming compromised because so many forces began to bring their own agenda, right? Whether it was the agenda of the state to destabilize, whether it was the agenda of the nonprofit world to co-opt for their campaigns, whether it was the Democratic Party who saw potential new votes. None of them approached Occupy as something to feed and fuel the margins to build power there. They went to Occupy to pull it to the center.
You know, really, we've been punking out. People on the left and the Democrats, they've been real punks. And they've allowed the Republican, particularly the Tea Party crazy people, to lead the conversation. And I don't blame the people who are following the Tea Party. I blame the leaders. Because if you come in with an elixir and say it'll heal all your problems, people will gravitate to it because people are hurting. But it's the leaders who are peddling this BS as a magic potion that we have to take to task. And Obama is finally beginning to do that. He should have done it a long time ago, and he needs to take it a step further. Because it's basically craziness that they're talking. They're making people vote against their own interests and telling them that it's good for them. But it's really us that have to step up.
Nobody felt represented. They don't represent us. Representative democracy failed. You want us to still have a state? Like this huge elephant? Oh, or you want just the corporations to do whatever they're doing? That's the worst thing too. No, let's take care of each other, you know? That's what happened, yeah. Fuck representative democracy.
Brookfield and Bloomberg have decided to come here tomorrow at 6 a.m. and clean the parking sections and push us out. This is definitely just a ploy to kind of end the occupation.
Everyone has been chipping in, and everyone's been working in solidarity together for this big prep, this big cleaning, this big organization. And while I was gone, a lot of cleaning and organizing happened. It looks great.
What made Occupy is that we weren't going anywhere. And the fact that they realized that not only that we were there and we were saying that, but we're going to be there tomorrow and the day after, forever. This is, then people start thinking of change. That's what kind of like enables change. Now, tactically, it's not that simple because you have to hold the space.
Stay here. Come on.
To take down the barricades!
No!
Take down the barricades!
No, no, no!
So can I see a show of hands? So can I see a show of hands? Can I see a show of hands? How we feel about this option? How we feel about this option?
How we feel about this option? Response! Response!
I'd like to read a brief statement. I'd like to read a brief statement. From Deputy Mayor Holloway. From Deputy Mayor Holloway. From Deputy Mayor Holloway. Late last night. Late last night. Late last night. We received notice from the owners of Zuccotti Park. We received notice from the owners of Zuccotti Park. We received notice from the owners of Zuccotti Park.
The people.
Brookfield Properties that they are postponing their cleaning. All winter, all spring, occupy everything. 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 All winter, all spring, occupy everything.
On October 15th, there was a global day of action called by activists in Spain. I stood in the middle of Times Square, overwhelmed by the moment. At that point, there were over 1,000 occupations all across the globe, people were taking the square and calling for direct democracy.
Show me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. Show me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. The whole world is watching. 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 3, 2, 1. Happy New World!
You're organizing your life in the expectation of something that on some level you no longer believe is really going to happen. But you don't know that you don't believe it's really going to happen. You just think you believe it's going to happen, but you've already psychologically, accepted that it won't, so you don't get too disappointed. And then it happens, and you say, oh, right, I've been saying for years this is going to happen. And it did. Yeah, it was amazing.
All day, all week. All day, all week. Mike Jack. The people of Ireland. Have had enough. Come and join us. Come and join us.
The whole world is watching in Atlanta and Sydney and Melbourne and Oakland. The whole world is watching, and that is why it's different. Maybe it's someone else.
It was beautiful to see that same idea started spreading to Alaska. We had Occupy Alaska, Occupy São Paulo, Occupy Rio, Occupy Europe, London.
Occupy everything.
Occupy everything, everywhere. It was beautiful.
My name is Alex. I'm from Rio de Janeiro, and I'm in this movement from the get-go, even before September 17th. Set up systems where information flows, communication lines are open, so all the different committees, working groups can talk and plan out actions, coordinate with other general assemblies across the world.
October 15th spread Occupy through many countries, including Brazil. People were sending messages to us all the time, like asking for support for this and then, struggle that was going on.
The first person began to bang a pot and saw their neighbor across the street banging one, and the neighbor downstairs too. And soon there were 4, 5, 15, 20. And he goes on to continue to explain how this number keeps multiplying and multiplying. When they were forming all these assemblies, people said, oh yeah, this is horizontalidad. And I would say, well, what is that? And they say, well, it's this. And I say, well, what is this? I'm recording. Well, it's not this. Which is still like the language of hierarchy or direct democracy. That wasn't the language. It was actually just this word horizontalidad, which before didn't exist in Spanish. And the way people explain it is a kind of social relationship, creating this space where we relate to each other.
In the early days of Occupy in New York, and then watching it take off in other cities, it immediately made me think of what happened in Argentina, where in 2001 there was a full-on popular rebellion, also coming out of an extreme economic crisis, freezing of people's bank accounts, and people went out into the streets throughout the whole country, but especially in urban areas, without political parties, without banners or led by unions, and just went out in the street, and it's called cacerolando, banging pots and pans. And then they moved through the streets, not even with a destination, just people coming out of their houses. And then it turned into this song, which is the Que se vayan todos, que no queda ni uno solo, which is they all must go, not even one should remain.
Hello! Hello! Please join me! Please join me! In joining our movements! In joining our movements! Across the globe! Across the globe! Across the globe! Because we know! Because we know! Because we know! All of our movements!
By late October, the park was becoming a more permanent home. We had fought to defend the park, and we wanted to build a community, but this was far more difficult than initially thought. Not everyone felt that they were part of that community or that they had a say in decisions made there.
What we try to do at Comfort is we try to give everybody a chance, regardless of their situation, to be involved in the process. And of course that comes with certain challenges. But we feel like we are up to the challenge, and we don't feel that anybody should be excluded from being a part of the community. I have a proposal from a community member. Please state your proposal, honey.
It's too small. Solve many of these problems of unregulated usage. General union, where each tent ship has considered a family, has a representative who conveys those interests of the tent ship.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about.
Yep, general union. General union.
We were not ready to address the issue of homelessness, right? We're having this camp that's centered around economic justice, but we have no means, no training, no concept of how to deal with the homeless, which is a huge issue in this country, but we weren't prepared at all. And some people were unwilling. Almost all of us were totally ignorant about how to do it, although some people wanted to try and do it. There was that whole Comfort working group, which was definitely, and a lot of those people were the push to try and make that happen.
Those are really good waterproof pants if someone wants to use them now, and then there's a lot of warm wool sweaters.
Oh,
okay. Thank you.
Matter of fact, no, not like this. This is
it's all winter coats and boots and sweaters.
Coding in terms of class, race, and gender, I noticed that not just within the kitchen, but also within sanitation and also within Comfort. A lot of the logistical working groups, a lot of the things that had to do with the actual unglamorous hard work of keeping that park going day in and day out while other people had theoretical conversations on theoretical problems, on theoretical matters, and then going on their theoretical marches afterwards, like keeping those people going. And yeah, there were times when even I kind of felt taken for granted.
Caucuses are specifically to represent the voices of people who have experience of being marginalized in the larger society. We'll have operations group and caucus report backs. So when you look down, you see length. Operations group and caucuses will have 1 minute each to report back. That's still going to be almost an hour, probably.
Race have always been a really problematic issue in the movement. We weren't able to make that space a space where people of color really felt that they could come to and really work through their struggles. And I mean, that's how I felt. And patriarchy have always been a really big problem in the movement, and we have always seen male voices dominating, and we've seen so much harassment in the movement, and so much vocabulary actually that was very patriarchal too, and that have oppressed a lot of women. And we were unable to really address that. We were talking about addressing that.
Cisgendered males, and
We have to understand that until we've all been healed and had all of our basic needs met, which will take generations to achieve that, we're going to continually be working in a damaged kind of context. And so every way that we work has got to be choosing the healing path. And a healing path is horizontalism, no power over. A healing path is inclusion, not pushing out.
What we want to do as occupiers, as people who are living here, as people who want to be here every day and work, is to build a community. Community building is at the core of what Occupy Wall Street's about. So it makes sense spatially to build intentional communities and to build safe spaces. So we have tents that are 16 by 16 and 11 by 11. And the goal with these tents is to have people organize themselves based around their needs and their wants and their affinities. So affinity groups or working groups or people who generally like each other coming together. A big priority for us has been building safe spaces for women.
Do you want to put it right there? Yeah. Or right here.
In this critical juncture, we're facing huge challenges. There are challenges that because we're so successful, there are challenges we're lucky to have.
The occupation had grown in scale from 40 to 4,000 regular participants. There were over 100 working groups, and it was becoming increasingly difficult to keep track of decisions made, especially around resources.
You have to separate. If you have to look at the Zuccotti occupation, it went through different stages, right? All this money was donated to New York City General Assembly. Like they raised $1 million. All the other occupations raised peanuts compared to that around the country. So they were deciding the General Assembly suddenly stopped being the General Assembly of New York City, Zuccotti, whatever, became a General Assembly connected to this pool of money.
There is not an answer to your question beyond what I already said.
Money is tearing this movement apart, and maybe I'm biased because I'm an anarchist, but I don't want anything to do with money. You know, I like in-kind donations better. The idea is so that the GA becomes a body of political dissent, political discussion.
The GA was just structurally not a body that was equipped to deal with those kinds of decisions because there wasn't consistency in the membership. It was a constantly volatile and transitory body, that it was really best as like a movement building tool where people could come and get plugged in and have political discussion, that it didn't foster a sense of community and consistency, which you need in order to make these kinds of decisions. And so that's why. It's not about power. It's about structure. It's about the kind of community that we want to have. going forward.
What I saw you try and do is I actually saw you try and create a space where anyone who chose to could actually be involved in the process of creating what was needed. And you did a lot of due diligence on that, and you held a lot of space for that. And I guess what I would say is that we all did the best that we could, and what happened is what happened. It was, right? We can go through all kinds of if we had done this, that, or the other thing, but that's just not what happened. Yeah. Okay? And no one person, this was bigger than all of us.
Okay. Hi, everyone. How are you all doing? I'm Dan, aka Hong Kong, and this is Marissa, and we are actually live right now on Sunday evening. So I just sort of wanted to try to share an article with you guys and get a reaction. So it's called Chill Decisions on Occupy Wall Street, Leaders of the Allegedly Leaderless Movement. So do you feel like you're a leader of this movement, or are you just somebody who's been like working hard on it and doing some stuff?
I'm definitely not a leader. We don't have any leaders, so
right.
I'm not a leader. But I have been working a lot, and like many people have.
Yeah. It's day one, yo.
Yeah.
Making it happen. Marissa, basically on this article on Global Research CA, they were saying Marisaholmes is one of the most influential leaders and and has supported the Spokes Council model.
I'm on the structure working group that developed the Spokes Council, and we want the finance committee to be as transparent as possible and post everything online. And they've said that they're going to do that. I think once they have pressure from working groups, and a mandate from working groups, they'll be more inclined to do so.
So there's Zuccotti. I go do 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 over there to 411 Pearl. What kind of facility is 411 Pearl Street? What is that?
It's a high school.
Oh, cool.
We're meeting at a high school gymnasium / cafeteria.
All right, everybody. We're going to get through as many of these as we can with everybody's cooperation. This is not an easy thing to do. We are forming the Spokes Council now.
I used to just describe it as like a wheel and the spokes on the wheel. And so you see it as kind of sitting in a circle, and then the spokes are the kind of lines for the different affinity groups or working groups or whatever, different people who are organizing around something specific and concrete, so that you can kind of whisper up and down the line what you're thinking so that the voice can reflect that to the group as a whole. So it's a way of having a democratic discussion with many, many people.
How many people want to stop the process to hear her concern? Twinkle, twinkle up high. Let everybody see you. Do you want to stop the process? 1, 2.
I'm not gonna read. I'm just gonna say that we are here, working groups. Supposedly we are in the process, and the facilitators are marginalizing our voices. We had to pass, in order to speak, I cannot speak, so that's what you want. Okay, thanks.
There's people who came into the park who are aware of like horizontalism and aware of like sort of like the idea that Occupy Wall Street kind of had all these anarchist beliefs where we're supposed to like listen to each other, take each other into account, and they're really good at manipulating that. Somebody would come in and like cause problems, but then nobody knew what to do about it. Like they, well, we can't kick them out because we're supposed to accept everyone. So even though this person's causing all these problems, we can't kick them out because we're horizontal and everyone's equal. And so like, and those are real things that kept happening.
Okay, so we're gonna go back to what we were doing, which is taking a temperature check on continuing with this process. And check with your groups, check in with your groups. Temperature check. Okay, so let's go back to the process at hand.
Hi there. Big blue tag behind us.
The park was still running, but slower than before. After 2 months, the challenges of the action were weighing heavy on all of us, and we were tired. I hadn't noticed before, but the leaves changed.
The first 5 days felt very long, and the first month felt super long. I remember it kind of feeling like a whole year had passed after the first month, which is, it's like kind of, I don't know how to explain it.
I just bought lettuce. I just went.
She's just gonna park the car and then she's coming in. I'm not taking sides. I'm just relaying a message.
I called it in my head the rot. I thought about a log that's just slowly growing mold, or a piece of bread or something like that. It's something where it just started getting weaker and weaker and kind of being eaten from the inside out. And I was seeing it spread.
We don't not have problems. We ain't got no.
Yeah, I'll pick it up.
Hold up a second.
It's 3:24 a.m. I think. Is that right? Yeah, 3:24 a.m. Here we are. I have to make sure the stream is up so I have multiple windows up. Oh, what energizes me most about the movement is just the possibilities. I know it sounds ridiculous, but it really seems like we can make anything happen if we work together. And we've made so much happen so far. I'm just excited to see where we're going with it. You know, so I mean, it's just exciting to be here and and just to be part of this. My voice is pretty shot. I want to give it a break. I hope I answered some of your questions. I know some of the people I wasn't able to maybe answer them as efficiently as you'd like. I'll try again tomorrow. I'm going to try to get some good rest. I'll be back. I'll be here tomorrow. Don't you worry. Thank you all for all the support. I know there's probably about 300 and some people here tonight who are all here because you're helping us. And all right. Have a wonderful night. Thank you. All love. If I go to the park now, I can go through and be like, this is where I slept in the beginning. This is where I slept towards this part. This is where I started sleeping towards this part. You know, like, you know, that's the way I view, I guess, my history of the park is like where I slept. And there's like favorite parts. Like actually I was just there and I sat down in the place I used to sleep all the time. It was like, oh, this is what I used to do. But yeah, I was there. I thought it was important. Like I thought that there was like a movement that was happening or whatever, and it was large and expansive, went across the world. I get it. But I thought that there was also like this park where humans were colliding with each other and we're trying to learn how to like deal with each other.
You might want to speak like you've had some coffee.
Okay.
All right. Good morning.
Here.
All right.
We are live
Okay.
on the Global Channel.
Great. Well, hello, good morning, all of our global viewers. We're here in the War Resisters League office with Lisa Fithian, and we're going to have her answer all of our questions. Good morning, Lisa.
Good morning, Jason. Good morning, Global Live Stream.
So why bring trainings? What's the importance of bringing trainings to people?
Right. I mean, that really is my main focus right now, is trainings. And it's because trainings are fundamental to building a new culture. Trainings are fundamental to building a community, because we're not taught in this country how to be in good, right relationship with one another, how to really build community, how to engage in organizing for power. And when you have a lot of new people coming in, it's a way to quickly sort of raise up a whole new generation to a whole different scale of organizing, which is what movements are about. So the really exciting thing about this moment is that people are hungry to learn, and they recognize that they don't have all the skills they need. And so it's a great moment for a collective skill share, strategizing about what do we need and how do we do it, you know? When there is an alternative, we can't help sometimes but to move toward it, right? but we don't come there having any common skills or practice or, right? So it's inevitable that that is going to be a really challenged space. And how we deal with those challenges is going to determine whether how successful we'll be. And Occupy wasn't able to deal with them all successfully. To no fault of our own, really. I mean, a lot of people helped take it down. You know? And and we can't underestimate that. We can only learn from it.
There was a coordinated effort by Wall Street, in concert with Homeland Security, the FBI, and local police departments, to destabilize and evict every one of the then over 1,000 occupations. One by one they fell, and there were rumors circulating that Occupy Wall Street could be next.
All right, is everyone here? Just so you know, right now we're being raided at Occupy Wall Street. Please start tweeting as many people as possible and letting folks know. Occupy Wall Street is being raided. Don't fucking look. So right now, if you're just joining me, I'm in the kitchen. The police are coming from all sides of the park. They're moving through the encampment. People are simply sitting down and walking on.
Right now we are holding the street
at Broadway and Pine.
At Broadway and Pine.
Lock arms, fill gaps, occupy the space. Lock arms, fill gaps, occupy the space. Lock arms, fill gaps, occupy the space. Mic check.
A little rhyme.
A little rhyme.
679.
679.
6018.
6018.
We can help you deal.
We can help you deal
with the police state.
with the police state. All right,
All day, all week, occupy Wall Street. All day, all week, occupy Wall Street. All day, all week, occupy Wall Street. All day, all week, occupy Wall Street.
This side, get on the other side of the street.
motorcycle. Move it. When the car comes down, move it.
All right, now listen to me carefully. Okay? You see what we're doing?
Get off the track. Get off the track. When the car comes down, move it. I want that fucking
No one's armed in there! Nobody's armed!
Thanks, guys. Thanks for protecting us.
Okay, let's keep momentum!
Mike check!
One direction!
One direction!
This is the fucking country we live in where this bullshit, where I'm not even allowed to stand on a fucking sidewalk because a man will pull out a fucking stick and put his hands on my goddamn body.
Don't touch me!
Let's go. Come on. Let's go. Let's go.
Go ahead, tell your superiors what you're doing. Pushing a woman. This is a public street. Pushing a woman. Good for you. You're such a man.
Why can't I go this way? Why are you blocking my constitutional rights to walk down the street? Does anybody have an answer? Tell us, please, because we're dying to fucking know. Tell us. Tell us why we can't go through.
They don't let you. You have the right. You have the right to not fucking leave. You have the right. Yes. But no one has to ask. Yeah, you should believe it like I did. Kelly tells us stuff. It's that simple. We'll reach their good place tonight.
Over time, I've become increasingly concerned, as had the owners of the park Brookfield properties, that the occupation was coming to pose a health and fire safety hazard to the protesters and to the surrounding community. We have been in constant contact with Brookfield, and yesterday they requested that the city assisted in enforcing the no sleeping and camping rules in the park. But make no mistake, the final decision to act was mine and mine alone. No right is absolute, and with every right comes responsibility. The First Amendment gives every New Yorker the right to speak out, but it does not give anyone the right to sleep in a park or otherwise take it over to the exclusion of others, nor does it permit anyone in our society to live outside the law. There is no ambiguity in the law here. The First Amendment protects speech. It does not protect the use of tents and sleeping bags to take over a public space. Protesters have had 2 months to occupy the park with tents and sleeping bags. Now they will have to occupy the space with the power of their arguments.
I knew right away it was so much great. It's amazing how many people.
If anything, this really gathered everyone together because in the park we were starting to get worried about having a culture divide in the park, like people separating. And when the cops came through and decided that they were going to take over the park and take everything down, people really united and gathered together and worked together, and I thought that was great.
We have a whole new opportunity to rebuild, and this is the first time we've really been able to start from scratch, I guess, besides the beginning. So we can rebuild, we can learn from our mistakes, we can move on. If we can't take back Zuccotti, then we can move to somewhere else.
After the eviction, there were numerous attempts at reoccupying the park, as well as other spaces. Every attempted occupation was met with immediate state violence, and we were not able to overcome this. The movement never really recovered. Similar trajectories can be traced in other movements from 2011. In North Africa and the Middle East, there was the most brutal repression with military dictatorships and full-blown civil wars. In Europe, anti-terrorism legislation was introduced, while new political parties captured popular anger. In many ways, the global revolution that we have been part of was transformed into a counter-revolution. I keep going on these walks in the financial district, and I try to understand what happened, or at least ask better questions. Will we hear everyone's voices? Will we build democratic structures? How will we meet basic needs and manage resources? How will we confront state violence? My hope is that we will reflect and learn to build better worlds in the future. Only then will we really occupy everywhere.